In a world where born in the cloud businesses have ever-growing amounts of data, in this series we're going to delve into how and why this data should be protected and the ways in which your organisation can use a proven security framework to grow securely as well as rapidly. I'm Kirsty and I'm joined today by our Head of Security, Mike Smith. Hi Mike.
Hi Kirsty.
So firstly, could you please run us through your background prior to joining Appsbroker?
Yeah, certainly. So just before joining Appsbroker, I was Director of Cloud Security at FIS. Heading up a team of architects and engineers deploying or responsible for the security of cloud. So that's across AWS, Azure, and GCP. Prior to that, I headed up security at WorldPay, so security consulting, DevSecOps, cloud. Prior to that, I was at several banks, so Citibank, Deutsche Bank, Aviva prior to that. So I've been around the houses doing architectural, networking and security for longer than I care to remember. And the nice thing, I've landed on security now, and it's kind of security in cloud. And I see that as a phenomenal opportunity to where we can really drive value by securing the cloud.
And in your experience, what are the main security challenges that are unique or most relevant to born in the cloud businesses today?
Well, I think born in the cloud is actually a really interesting space, primarily because many large organizations, they find their digital transformation journey is kind of where they end up in cloud. Whereas born in the cloud, they were born transformed in essence, which means their real kind of challenge there is trying to secure at scale and trying to mature the relevant security posture to reflect their regulatory requirements. So often what will happen is that data seems to be the push factor for most digital natives adopting cloud. So they come up with a hugely unique MVP, which is data-driven. And then security seems to be on the back burner. So it's often manually cranked for those first few iterations of MVP. However, to secure at scale, you need to make sure you embed that security very much so from the get-go and as far left in that delivery pipeline as possible. So I would say the biggest challenges for digital native in security is to secure at scale and embedded into the pipeline.
With there being multiple cloud providers on the market for businesses to choose from, why do you believe Google Cloud is the best cloud for security?
That's a great question. The reason why I see GCP has been kind of at the forefront from security. Even if security isn't that initial conversation, as I said before, data is very much that initial kind of open the door for most organizations to end up at GCP. However, when you look at the security measures that are embedded into GCP, it's an impressive stack. So if we went all the way back to the kind of Aurora, dare I say, breaches or activity. On the back of that, the whole spawning of a zero trust methodology, the delivery of that methodology across the GCP platform means that organizations can actually leverage that approach that, to be truthful, only really I see kind of Google are close to delivering on for that zero trust, leveraging that platform and to facilitate their own zero trust aspirations, which puts them significantly ahead. But the key here is you need to understand what those actual attributes of the platform are and how you can leverage them going forward. So I would say that's the biggest game changer. As well as that, I see their embedded approach for open source. So take Kubernetes, for example. They're great at engineering phenomenal solutions, but they then return it back to the technical population by kind of, so it's for the greater good of all as opposed to just for Google, which I think is a great approach. So,
With the rapid growth that has come from the recent demand in online services, how can businesses ensure security at scale?
Early adoption with security is key. So it's probably better to actually let's reflect on how security at scale is not achieved. If organizations go off and develop their MVPs without security input and those security requirements being represented, often they find themselves in a position where they can go to deployment of almost a production-like service and then trying to retrofit those security requirements. Not only is it costly from a financial perspective, but from a time perspective and a time to market, it's very costly to retrofit security. So it's an overused term, but to embed security as far left in any activity or pipeline is key. not only to making sure you can get your MVP out on time to delivery, time to market, but also from a financial perspective, it's far more effective and efficient to embed that as far left as possible. And that really is kind of early and frequent engagement with security is key to embedding that into an organization.
A lot of Google Cloud's ethos is around zero trust and beyond corp. How do you believe this approach to security helps protect company data?
I would say the cloud is possibly the best example of a fully distributed system that we have on the planet. And the key there is that when we move from a north-south or a perimeter-centric security stance into a multi-dimensional one in a fully distributed system, zero trust is pretty much the only approach that ticks all the boxes. You can no longer rely on a perimeter and something coming through your front door, but to, in essence, try and get full authentication authorization for all person or human to system to system, for all of those channels of communication is key. And zero trust, I know it used to be more of a marketing term, but I really do think that security as a profession are far closer to realizing the kind of the utopia of zero trust security, particularly in GCP.
Now, you fairly recently joined Appsbroker to help us improve the service and security of our clients. What is your vision for the security at Appsbroker, and how does Appsbroker help born in the cloud businesses bolster their security?
So I've been brought into Appsbroker. It's kind of a two functional kind of role. So the first one would be a CISO of the organization. So to look internally at our security posture, our security practices, our compliance, and to kind of lend a hand with making sure we can mature that out. In parallel to that, we've been setting up a security practice. And in essence, this isn't really, it's a new practice in name, but it's not a new activity for Appsbroker. So for me, the most encouraging thing is when I arrived is that many of the existing practices were already conducting great security kind of function in their delivery. Security is embedded in all cloud deliveries, or should be. Let me take that back. Security should be embedded in all cloud deliveries. And if it's not, then obviously there's a flaw. But as it has been at Appsbroker, we can then leverage that existing experience and exercise to actually extend out and productize those security offerings. And that's what my team are currently working on. So really trying to, again, really do security at scale by having a dedicated practice that other practices can leverage and our customers can come to us and actually vocalize any of their security concerns or ask simply for help and consultation in security in the cloud.
And would you say that's kind of the first step that digital natives should be making at this point? You know, what's the first step to security as they're looking ahead to scale? And what should they be considering as they're doing that?
Well, the first step is to acknowledge that it's a need and a requirement. The second step is to engage a company like Appsbroker, because again, I didn't kind of explain why I think Appsbroker are akin to a digital native. So as you're aware, we're small, we're agile, we're very much customer focused. And these are kind of attributes that are embedded into every digital native as well. So when I look from a higher level and I see digital native as a domain, I look at Appsbroker, there's a lot of shared DNA between the organizations. So, I think you really want to engage with a like-minded org that understands security and also understands how your business operates. And that's key because there are a lot of shades of gray in security, and it's all about leveraging those business requirements coupled with the security requirements and delivering it in the cloud successfully that need to be leveraged.
From your experience, is there one thing that you can pinpoint and say, this is what organizations are doing wrong when it comes to security?
Well, every org is slightly different. To be truthful, probably the one common part would be, and this would be common to digital natives or common to very large organizations, is the proliferation of silos and inward-looking kind of teams is probably the most common failing. And that would be the same for large organizations which are kind of monolithic and waterfall led, or even smaller ones. Even within agile delivery, I find that often you'll get multiple squads working on related topics, but looking internally to resolve that issue within the squad. And then when they create an awesome solution, and then it kind of floats up to the wider organization, and people don't tend to leverage or fully leverage those solutions. Likewise, from a security perspective, it's perfect if we can build out that security solution and leverage it as a shared service across multiple squads. So I find that as a challenge, particularly for more digital native where they're very agile. But it's a challenge that manifests in large organizations, which are multi-siloed as well.
Thanks so much for your insight today, Mike. If you're listening and would like to learn more about how Appsbroker are helping to secure and grow digital natives, please visit our website at appsbroker.com/digital-native. Hope to see you soon. Bye.